Hello, Stitchers. Welcome to Stitch Please, the official podcast of Black Women Stitch, the sewing group where Black Lives Matter. I'm your host, Lisa Woolfork. I'm a fourth-generation sewing enthusiast with more than 20 years of sewing experience. I am looking forward to today's conversation, so sit back, relax, and get ready to get your stitch together. Hello, Stitchers. Thanks so much for joining us for the last episode of Blacktober on the Stitch Please podcast. I'm delighted to talk today with Aisha DePay to talk a bit more about the differences between cosplay and just a regular costume. Tomorrow is Halloween, and maybe many of us, at least myself, have been working on Halloween costumes for friends or family or for ourselves. And I thought that a cosplay episode would be perfectly timed for the end of Blacktober. So let's see what Aisha has to say. Aisha?
Hey.
Yes. Two times is a charm.
Sorry. I was there when the issue happened. I was sitting in the room and I heard this noise. It was like a countdown beep.
Oh, okay.
And then it cut off and it was like, all right, thank you for using Ringer. And I was like, uh-oh.
You're welcome.
And I was like, well, maybe I could come back in. And it was like, nope, that's over. You have used this. And
I think that was my fault. I think what I did is said that you were connected. And then I said your name a couple times and I didn't hear anything. And so I said, I wonder if she hung up or if I need to start over. So that's clearly operator error. But you sound great.
Yeah, this headset is good. It's what I use for gaming.
Good.
But what I had done, like I said, I sat on it. So I think I sat on it, and I popped the mic part off. So no. I just put it back on with some tape for now. We're
about to see because my boys both play games, video games like that, and both of them seem to have. The headsets should just come with tape because both of them, and they weren't like inexpensive things, but one of them has like a pound of blue painter's tape wrapped around it. And then the other boy, I don't know what they're using to hold these things up. Well, thank you so much for joining today. I do appreciate you taking the time out. This episode will be this conversation comes at the end of what we are calling at Black Women Stitch Blacktober. Mm-hmm. And I thought since Halloween is tomorrow, that this would be a great opportunity to talk about cosplay and what the differences are between cosplay and a regular costume and how you as a Black woman have used your sewing as a way to kind of participate in unique and specific ways for your own cosplay. And just to talk a bit, well, maybe can you just give us a little bit of a definition about what is cosplay and what's the difference between cosplay and just like a Halloween costume?
Short answer is nothing. Cosplay is short for costume play. So if you are wearing a costume and having fun, you are enjoying cosplay. So there's Halloween cosplay. Most people think of cosplay culture and they think of like anime conventions and comic book conventions, and certainly plenty of cosplay happens there. And that's more of a cosplay culture and a whole geek culture that's around that. But, that word still encompasses, you want to be a sexy pizza, for Halloween. You are cosplaying, is one of those. you know, all the female costumes are just like sexy versions of regular items.
Yes, absolutely. I think there was a really funny episode of the show Community about this. I used to watch this show Community, and I think it was about a community college, and it was really funny. And they had this one episode, and this person was like a sexy ghost or something
Yes.
like that. Yeah, and how like this was such a that some people get a chance to kind of play in ways that they normally wouldn't. But what's so interesting about thinking about cosplay and as costumed play, I really like this idea that there's really nothing different between the two. It's just that cosplay allows you the freedom and the flexibility and the imagination and creativity to do every day or as often as you want.
Yes.
That some people only reserve for themselves for Halloween or for just one day.
Right. And that's normal folks. Geeks, we take it to another level. Blurs, we take it to another level. Okay, wait, I should say what a blurred is.
Yes, do it.
Okay. A blurred is a black nerd.
Holla, that's me. I'm a black nerd.
Yeah, that's you. And it's just like we want to inhabit certain characters. We think, okay, you think to yourself, who's your favorite character? And that character doesn't even have to be human, but like something about them speaks to you. And you're like, you know what? If I would like to be that this year or this day or whatever. Some people even do something called closet cosplay. And they just find pieces in their outfits, like pieces in their closet that just happen to look like an iconic character. And there you go. You're done. You don't have to do any more steps. You know, Velma is literally an orange sweater and a red skirt. And you are Velma. Like, not Velma. Yeah, Velma.
Yeah, Velma. Daphne's the one with the purple dress and the... Yeah. No, I think I like that idea of closet cosplay because what it allows me to think about is the idea that all clothes are costumes and that this is something that people have been thinking about, like scholars have been thinking about, as well as people who have been just doing this work through either in drag culture and other places. This notion that your clothes are a form of performance and fashion is related to that as well. Like all of these intersecting modes of being and modes of dress and apparel, that all of that is a performance in one way or another. And what cosplay seems to be to me, just as someone who has participated as, making lots of Halloween costumes, for example, it seems to be like that Halloween is like the time that most people allow themselves permission to do it. Yeah. Whereas cosplayers and folks who perform dress in more deliberate ways through costume cosplay and other places or other things. They just do it. They're brave enough to do it all the time.
Oh yeah. Some people, so like if you're, into the like traditional like cosplay from Japan, right? There are people who just inhabit characters every day, they like, I'm wearing a Lolita outfit every day. I am a Lolita. That's who I am. And that's just what I am. And after that, at that point, is it a costume even? This is like philosophical, right. But like,
no, it's a good question.
If your everyday is a Lolita, then I don't think that's a costume anymore. That's who you are.
Right. And I wonder if when you think about cosplay and when you choose or decide to dress up as a character, are you trying to inhabit the character, or do you imagine it's the reverse, that the character speaks to something in the performer or in the person that's wearing the costume that inspires them? You know what I mean? I'm trying to figure out, like, is it like a chicken versus egg situation?
I see what you're saying. It's definitely both. I know it's individual for each person. Some people like the look of a certain character, and they'll just like, they don't have to know much about the character. They're just like, I love the look of this character and I want to look like that. Someone like me, I am very much character driven and like performance because I come from an acting background. And so I just enjoy, being, so like my first cosplay was Mr. T. And
Oh,
I
awesome.
just spent the whole night going, pity the fool. I just
Oh
did
my
not,
gosh.
I could not stop myself. I was Mr. T
Do
all
you
the
remember
time.
how old you were? How old you were
I
when you
know.
started doing this?
I
Do you remember?
That was 18. I was 18 at the time. And it was
And so
it's
you
a big deal.
cosplayed as Mr. T. And for those of y'all who don't know who Mr. T is, please Google and do yourself some favor. Maybe we'll drop some information in the show notes, or maybe you can just have some fun and do a little bit of research. But Mr. T was, and I think he's still around,
Yeah.
but he's a boxer. He was a boxer. He was in the Rocky movies. He was in the show called The A-Team.
He was a
And
bouncer. Yeah.
he was a bouncer. He was a bodybuilder. Was he a bodybuilder as well?
I'm not sure. I know he did some photos with Arnold. So
Oh, okay. So, I don't know why I'm giving a summary of Mr. T. You were Mr. T. You the one that should be giving this information. But one of his tagline was "I pity the fool," and it was delivered in a very serious way, but it was also pretty funny.
I just for a while, I like for the whole night, he took over. I did not even talk like myself. I was just like, Mr. T don't like no drugs. Kids shouldn't do no drugs.
Oh gosh, I remember that. Oh my gosh, God bless the '80s. I
To the world
mean,
hurt. Pain.
yes, a lot of promises of world of hurts. And remember all the gold chains he would
Yes,
wear
I had
and
those.
that and how that represented for him like it was his way to tribute or to pay tribute to the enslaved ancestors.
Mm.
That's what I had read that was why he wore them. And he also wore his hair in what's called by some a mohawk. And so, yeah, I remember that very vividly. And so maybe Mr. T is also cosplaying Mr. T.
Ah,
Um, and like, I mean, because he created a
he
character,
did.
right? And the character had a story and was inspirational and aspirational for other people who wanted to aspire to be like him or imagine his strength as part of their strength. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
Mm.
So what has been your most favorite? So you said Mr. T was your first cosplay. So what has been your most favorite or most recent version of cosplay that you've been doing? Or can we talk a bit, also as a second question about how sewing relates to that? But I think I want to hear the answer first. I want to hear what you're excited about now. And then maybe we can kind of go backwards to thinking about how sewing is related to that.
So I was taking a long hiatus from cosplay because I was just finding it so unaccessible to me. I think that's the right word. As like every year, I would get really excited to like each Halloween that came around. I wanted to like do Comic-Con, then Halloween, and it would take me pretty much the whole year to make an outfit. I think my favorite was the Queen of Hearts because that came after, and I handmade a felt crown and hot glued
Wow.
it to a headband, but it came out really cute. And I started just like playing with the character. I didn't just do I kept on adding things. I'm like, it's the Queen of Hearts with like a Harajuku style with like thrown in the 80s. Like I just kept on mashing.
So it's like a big genre meld. A
Yeah.
little bit of this and a little bit of that.
Yeah. And I wanted it to not look like anybody else's Queen of Hearts. And she didn't. She just looked like something different. I had like a tutu that again, I didn't know how to sew yet. So again, I just like, there's a no sew tutu that you can make where you just wrap the tulle around a band. And I kept on wrapping the tulle and made a really puffy, I still have it, really puffy skirt. Then it had the hearts on it already.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, and I just made it. It was a kid's tutu, so I added more tulle in the back and gave her just like a big, poofy butt,
Like a bustle.
like
Yeah,
a
like a
bustle,
bustle.
exactly,
Yeah.
like a big bustle. And at the time I worked for Claire's, so I was able to get a lot of the accessories really easy, and also Mad. What was the movie? Alice in
Alice in Wonderland.
Wonderland had just come out a year or two ago. So all of that stuff was on clearance, easy to get.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so I was able to like get the most of the accessories, and then I got a shirt that had like a lot of frills on it, so it looked a little bit regal, and like suspenders with the hearts. I mean, I just really had a good time crafting her because I even like again with my hot glue gun and like no sewing, pretty much. I was able to figure out something unique to me that fit me, that looked good, and was just cute. And I thought it looked cute. you know?
That's fantastic. So your Queen of Hearts was a way that you were able to kind of build this really elaborate costume with very little or no sewing skill, like no sewing machine was involved. You did hand sewing as well as the hot glue gun. The hot glue gun can be almost as good as a magic wand.
Yeah.
It really can do quite a lot. It could be like a stapler.
Yeah.
It can help to build three-dimensional objects. You can do, and one of my friends gave me one for my birthday that's like some kind of industrial strength
hot glue gun.
Hot glue gun.
Those things are
Girl,
serious.
I burnt the hell out of myself with that thing. I mean, I was like, I'm going to hot glue myself all the way into the emergency room. It was so hot. I'm like, I think they must use this to build television somewhere. Like, this is like lava. But it worked. It worked. It was worth all the burns. I'm talking today with Aisha DePay about cosplay in celebration of Blacktober. Let's continue to talk with Aisha and learn more about how sewing helped keep cosplay accessible for her. So tell me a bit about how sewing and starting to sew has changed your cosplay and how you were speaking. We were speaking off camera or off mic about like sewing as a way for you to get into cosplay in a different way, like to kind of supplement what you were already doing, because you were already doing it before you started sewing, but sewing opened a door for you in a different allowed you to do something a little bit different. So I'd love to hear about that.
So sewing's a recent development for me, right? I'm only a newbie sewist, right? But how I wanted to decide to sew is because of the cosplay, because cosplays took me so long and I had to have all these pieces. And again, financially, cosplay is expensive. I don't hear what nobody tells you. It is not a cheap hobby. Okay. So it's like, it became very inaccessible to me because it's not like I could commission, outfits that I wanted or costumes that I wanted. And plus size, so it's not like they always gonna fit me either. If I order something online or it looks kind of like it could fit, kind of, maybe. I'm not always sure. And how's it gonna fit? I'm curvy, so is it gonna be shaped all boxy? And if you buy Halloween costumes from like a Party City or something, that material is just, it's garbage. It
really isn't it though? It's like, what was this meant to be? What were you using this for if you decided not to make this Party City costume? Like, was it gonna be like a tablecloth for someone's table you didn't like very much? Like, and I'm sure all of it, like, don't smoke a cigarette nearby because your whole thing's going to go up and whoosh.
And sometimes they smell like a factory. Like they smell terrible. Like they just.
Yeah, it really does. It's quite flimsy. And this is no dig to Party City. But I mean, I think that lots of Halloween stores, a lot of these costumes that come folded in a bag with a hanger, the distance between the picture on the costume and what you actually put on your body is so far. It's just like, they should just say, this is a suggestion. That's what the photo should say. This is a suggestion. This is what you could look like.
If you were the exact proportions of the model.
If you were the exact proportions, if you put this on and put this on. You can try, but this is a suggestion. This is suggested styling. But it's like I saw this sign at my hairstylist once, and it says something like, "I'm a beautician, not a magician." And I think that those costumes really do, the marketing on the costume itself really does play on our sense of optimism. You know, like, ooh, I really have hopes that I'm going to get this, I don't know, whatever, this sexy pizza. And I'm going to be a sexy pizza. And then you put it on, it's like, oh, I look like a pan of lasagna. This was not at all what I had planned.
Oh, no. I can't get over sexy pizza because I'm like, really? Anything, I guess, is sexy now.
No.
Okay, so yeah, it just became so onerous to like try to make a costume. And okay, I don't know if you know the character, but from Full Metal Alchemist, a really popular show, right? Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, because there was 2 animes there. Anywho, the villain Homunculus Pride looks like a little schoolboy, and then he has these very very dangerous shadows that you don't see until until it's too late for you. He's very dangerous, and I'm always a fan of villains. Like I love villains. So I just thought, oh man, I'm gonna do this. I have the idea. I can make wings, the traditional fairy wings. Instead of wings, I just use the wire, because I watch some YouTube videos and it's like, okay, instead of wings, I'll make his shadows. And then I just need a dress shirt and I need some men's shorts. I was looking for like suit pants that I could cut into shorts, or some khaki shorts that I could make. And I had bought the shoes, the real from Payless before they went out of business. I bought the shoes, men's shoes. I still have those. So like, this is my dream cosplay. I'm ready, and I almost got everything together. Got the wire. I got the shoes, got everything. Could not find these shorts. And the way I find shorts is like all my cosplay, most of them come from either when I was working at Claire's, some pieces, or I would go to thrift stores and find like something cheap that I could fashion into whatever. And I just couldn't find them. I went to thrift store after thrift store, and like the shorts were not fitting over my hips, and I couldn't find them.
Because these were men's shorts, right? In men's shorts, men tend not to have hips like curvy in the same way. So I could see why that would be difficult to find a pair of tailored men's pants for someone with hips.
Right. So it was just ridiculous, and so it took me. And then again, time. You realize how much time it takes to go to every thrift store, and not just go once. You got to go back, because maybe this week, you might find it. And the energy, and it's just like I had school, I had work. There's just no way I could keep it up. So I get to Comic-Con this year, and I'm seeing these cosplayers, and every time I go to conventions, I just love looking at other cosplayers, taking pictures of them. This just gets me so excited. Deadpools are awesome. If you ever get to go to a convention, Deadpools are just funny. They just all have jokes. They all have cool one-liners just before you take the picture. Like, they're just...
I do really like Deadpool. I enjoyed all the Deadpool movies. My son is a big fan of Deadpool, and I think it was Simplicity that has a deal with Marvel, because they have a Deadpool sewing costume that you can make. So I bought that costume pattern in the thoughts of making it for him, but he wasn't that interested, which was fine because it looked like pretty complicated and time intensive. So
yeah, I definitely think I might do a Deadpool one year, because he's just he's a riot. I love the character. I love the characterization of him. But anywho, I'm having a good time this year, and I'm looking at a cosplayer. I'm in line for some other panel or whatever, and I said, "Can I take a picture of you?" She's like, "Yeah, sure." I took a picture of her, and I was like, "Your costume's awesome. It looks great." And she's like, "Okay, cool. Thank you." I was like, "I love cosplay. Man, this year I was planning to do something, but it didn't, I couldn't quite, couldn't quite get it together." So she was like, "What?" As I told her the story about the shorts, and she said, "You could sew those. You could absolutely make shorts. That's one of the easier things to make. Shorts. Oh man, shorts. The reason you don't have a costume on right now is shorts." She looked at me like, "Are you serious?" And I'm like, "I don't know how to sew." Anywho, fast forward about 2 or 3 years, and this has been like meandering in my mind. Like, if I could sew, things would fit better. I could get a costume out quicker. I wouldn't be trying to look for things, the time savings. I'm just thinking about it like I could do this. So I end up buying a brother machine for like $125 and started teaching myself to sew. Um,
That's amazing. So when you were teaching, I think so many things I love about this story, Aisha, is one of them is that you thought that that sewing would allow you to have the costumes that you wanted on your
mhm,
schedule instead of having to do all this research and all this thrifting and waiting on the whims of whatever happened to be at the thrift store when you happened to be there. So it gave you a bit more control over your look in cosplay, but then it also could give you control over your look in terms of how things fit your body regularly, just the clothes that you like to wear and things you enjoy doing. So I really love that. I really love this
mhm.
story about how when you were at Comic-Con, a woman was just like, shorts should not be holding you back. You can make shorts. I hope to see you in the future with some shorts on.
Yeah, it was funny. Now looking back on it, and especially like ready to wear doesn't always fit either. Like fit is a challenge just because.
Yes, it is. It's a challenge for sewing too. It is. Yes.
So, but I think sewing has opened up so many, like, my sewing as it's getting better. It's just like I'm seeing all the things I can do. Sure, I'm way past shorts now, right? My mind is like, no, evening gown, girl, evening, tentacles for Ursula, like this. I am like, I am like so past this.
It's like it's unlocked your imagination, it
Yeah.
sounds like. All the things that the costumes that you thought might have been like out of your reach, or, when you have such a busy schedule and a busy life, you don't have time to run around to look for all these low cost options. And and instead you can say, I'll come home early and I'll sit down with this fabric that I got and I'm going to make it work that way.
It just gives you more options to play with. I can still thrift, sure. I can still look for certain accessories and certain pieces to order. I can still sew something. It just opens up my toolkit, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. And that's something that I love about sewing as well. And I don't cosplay, but I am of the belief that all clothes are costumes. And so very often on Halloween, I'll have like some fabulous dress that I've made, but it's also a dress that I would wear, for Easter or for going to court or for wherever I happen to be. Stitch Please, the Black Women Stitch podcast, talks a lot about sewing. But if you'd like to see some of what we're discussing, we invite you to follow us on the socials. On Facebook, you can find us at Stitch Please, and on Instagram, you can find us at Black Women Stitch.
On Instagram, you'll find a lot of great pictures and compelling social commentary. In addition, you can participate in a weekly live Instagram chat at 3 p.m. on Thursdays at Eastern Standard Time. So follow us on the socials, Facebook at Stitch Please and Instagram at Black Women Stitch, and get your stitch together. Hey Stitchers, I'm talking with Aisha DePay about costuming and cosplay in honor of Blacktober. Let's tune in now and see what Aisha is going to be doing tomorrow for Halloween.
And I was thinking too about, I guess I'm really curious that, again, with Halloween coming up tomorrow, what are you going to be? Are you going to dress up for Halloween?
Yeah.
Do you have a costume that you are working on right now or
Yeah,
thinking about?
I'm really excited. I want to be Amethyst from Steven Universe this year. I'm actually planning two or three costumes, but it's only one night. So I usually, in New York City, in the Village Parade is amazing night for me. I love this parade. Anyone wearing a costume can walk down the parade strip and just like interact with all the people in the crowd, and it's just so much fun. And plus, again, someone who's a fangirl like I am, I get to see other cosplayers. Oh, that was the first place that's where I did Mr. T at when I was 18. I also did Storm. I forgot about Storm. I still like Queen of Hearts more than Storm, but it was great because that year that I had Storm on, I found a Gambit and a Jubilee, and we took some pictures together, and it was just like really great.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. It's a real community. It sounds like it's a real community when you go to cons and when you go to the parade. So when you say Village Parade, do you mean in Greenwich Village?
I think it goes pretty far. I think it goes close to 34th or 14th Street, all the way down to like almost the tip of Manhattan down to 4th Ave. And you just, for me, I don't even like parades like that because I'm short. I'm usually in the back of whoever's head. Right? You can't see anything. It's cold. No. I'm tired. My back hurts. I just don't like the whole thing. But the Village Parade, because I can be in the parade and walk the parade route, I love. You get space. You can, like, the whole street. There's a lot of, and because it's the Village, there's a lot of great drag out that night, and you just see some of the greatest things. There's floats, if you're into that, but there's just a lot, and I feel like I'm part of it. I'm contributing to it, and it's just a great night. It's like my favorite night of the year.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I will definitely put a link to the info about the Village Parade in the show notes so people can check it out and learn about it if they've not participated. I have family that does live down there, and I've made a costume for my nephew who was very young, and I think they walked in the parade. And he got a lot of good comments on his costume. He was very young, so he was sitting like on his dad's shoulders or something. But he was able to like walk in that little part right, near where they live down there.
What was he?
He was a lion. Yeah, and let me tell you about this lion. Talk about costumes that take work. And I was pregnant. I was living in Cleveland, Ohio. My husband was in law school. He had a internship or something, and I was working on my dissertation, trying to finish up, and was pregnant with my first. And we had this house, and it had this attic, it was an attic you could actually use. I had never seen a house that had an attic. You could go up in it and like be in it like a little loft. Now, the thing about it is that it was hot. It was so hot, but I had a sewing room, so I didn't care if it was 1,000 degrees. So I sat up there that summer and I made a costume for my nephew who was about 2 at the time. And it was so elaborate. It took me hours and hours and hours and hours. I mean, it really took a long time, but it was beautifully detailed. And so I gave it to my sister for my nephew to wear, and he wore it. And then I remember seeing it in the back of my mother's car in the trunk, and I had like a meltdown. Like, why would you put this back here? You know how many hours of sweat have poured into this costume? And so then after that, it was rescued. And then when my child was born, my nephew, for this lion, really, my nephew passed it down to my son, and then he wore it for a while. And then my other son wore it. And then I gave it to my other nephew to wear, this one who wore it in the village parade. And then now most recently, it's with my other sister because she has a little one, but we're going to get it back because one of my nieces now wants to. So this costume has really, I might have complained about making it, but it has been in our family for like 20 years. So I really cannot complain anymore about this lion costume because it turned out pretty great overall. So I think that's what he was. And I'm hoping that I can reuse it so I don't have to make some super fresh costumes, but I'm going to be making some stuff for my nieces, and a thing for my nephew, but no, everyone else seems to be growing out of it, cause there's a big gap in age in our family with the kids. Some are in their 20s and some are just turned 4. So, well, I'm excited about Amethyst. So tell me what you've got for her. I know you and we went shopping when I came up there a few weeks ago, and you were looking at these feathers and gems and all this stuff.
I was looking at more than one costume. So for Amethyst, I'm going to order a wig soon. I'm going to order a purple bodysuit, which will keep me warm because I am, I'm the type to just shiver. It's the slightest wind blow. I'm like, nope, I don't like it.
Now I have to put Amethyst. She has to have a coat
on. But Amethyst is pretty. I think this will be one of the easier tests of what I've learned so far, even though still new, because she just needs a gray tank top that kind of comes down rounded at the bottom. And I finally found that fabric, that gray stretchy fabric. So I know what I'm using. I just need to, I found a YouTube video that teaches you how to make a bodice block. So I'm going to make a bodice block, and I'm going to try to get that fit right. And then it's just about getting the body paint to be purple, which.
Oh my goodness. And so how much body paint do you need to use just for your face and hands?
Yeah, not much. Just the face and hands. I've done face makeup before, it wasn't really a cosplay. I just wanted to try it out. I made I did half my face as a puzzle piece pattern one year for Halloween because I couldn't go out for Halloween that year. I was very sad. And so I was like, well, since I have to stay home, I'm gonna mess with makeup. I'm gonna do something festive for Halloween. Yeah, I just love this holiday. But so I think I can pull this off. If I can get what I use is eyeshadow makeup and kind of makeup pigment with sometimes I'll use face cream or a little bit of foundation and kind of mix them in until I get the color right. And that's how I did my face. Cause it's all makeup. Cool, so it's all stuff that would belong on your face. So I don't think I have sensitive skin, so I want to make sure I'm not going to break out. But for my hands, I might order something that is for more sturdy, for the hands than what would go on my face. So I feel I feel like I'll be able to make a pigment for my face that's just moisturizer. Don't, that night, no one can touch my face. I got to seal it with powder. It's going to be an interesting thing, but the neck, I feel like the neck and pretty much just the neck and the hands aren't going to be that much. I thought like a little tube can't be that expensive. Shouldn't take that much. If I tried to do something like She-Hulk, maybe.
Right.
Maybe,
Goodness.
maybe I'd need a lot more.
That would be a lot.
Yeah.
We're getting near our time, and I wondered if you wouldn't mind giving a shout out to some other Black women cosplayers that you like or follow on Instagram, so that we can highlight them a little bit. I'm following someone. I'm not sure if you told me about her, but Mighty Morphin Power Priestess.
I didn't, but she sounds awesome.
Yeah, she's got some great. I think she even has a couple of videos. Who else do you like for cosplay
Love
on
Tranquil
Instagram?
Ashes. Love her. I met her in person one time, and she's just really great. She's also plus size. She's really creative. You know, she takes the character and redesigns it to fit her, but you still know who she is, right? She'll make a character who has like a bathing suit, and her rose quartz is hands down the best rose quartz I've ever seen. It's just the best.
And is Rose Quartz a character from Steven Universe?
That's Steven's mom.
Okay.
It's just good. It's just really good. Who else? There's also Chocolate Covered Cosplay, which I believe they're a cosplay team, but I could be wrong. She does a really great Sailor Moon. You can put this in the show notes, right? Okay.
Oh yeah, I will.
And,
I will.
Who else? There's one called Cherubi. I'm not sure if I'm saying her name right because I've never heard her say it, so I might be saying it wrong. But it's like a wife duo, and her wife sews these like full evening gowns for her that are beautiful. Wow. So you can commission her, and you should, because these things are fantastic. And each one is designed for whatever character she's playing. So if she wants to be a Wonder Woman, she has a Wonder Woman like evening gown that she wears. And then when she wants to be like Peach, again, it's an evening gown. But it doesn't matter what the character is, she gets a full length gown that completely represents the character. It's wonderful.
That's amazing. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing your amethyst. I cannot wait. And I can't wait to see your pics from the Village Parade and everything else. And I'm so thankful to you for taking the time to talk to us on this like very close end of Blacktober. And it's like Halloween Eve, and people are probably stitching away and sewing their last minute edits on their costumes. And so this has been a wonderful way to close out the month. And tell us where we can find you. I want to make sure that you get put in the show notes too. How can we find your page on IG?
So on Instagram, I'm Aisha Makes, AYESHA, Makes, MAKES. And I usually just put my sewing. I put a few of the pieces that I'm putting together for my cosplays, and it's updated not that regularly, I'm going to be honest. But you'll see some pictures of what I did.
Well, I am certainly looking forward to it. And thank you again for taking the time. We've been talking with Aisha DePay and talking about cosplay. And I'm so grateful to close out Blacktober with you, Aisha. And we'll talk again soon. Thank you so much for taking the time today.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
I really enjoyed talking with Aisha DePay today about cosplay and costuming. It seemed an especially fitting way to close out Blacktober this year. Be sure to tune into the show notes that we have on our StitchPleasePodcast.com website to find out more information about the people she was telling us about. I will also be sure to include them and their links in the show notes. Thank you for joining us for today's episode of Stitch Please, the Black Women Stitch podcast. Let's continue the conversation. Come find us on the socials. We're at Black Women Stitch on Instagram, where we have a very active page, and you can also find us on Stitch Please on Facebook. We also would love to hear from you, so feel free to email us at blackwomenstitch@gmail.com. There are 3 big ways you can support this project, and one of them you're doing already. By listening to the podcast, you're really helping us, so thank you for doing that. In addition, if you rate, review, subscribe, and share the podcast with other folks, that helps the podcast to grow, and it also gives the algorithm that manage podcasts information that will also help our podcast thrive. The third way to help the podcast is for those of you all who happen to have a little extra change burning a hole in your pocket. And if you don't have any plans to use it to buy your 20th, or in my case, 378th Big 4 pattern, that's how many I have in my top pattern drawer, about 378 patterns. You could take that money that you would spend at the pattern sale and give it to us. We are accepting donations at our Patreon site, where you can donate as little as $2 a month, or you could buy us a coffee at ko.fi, and small donations are greatly accepted and appreciated. So thank you for considering that. If you would like a transcript of this episode, you can find that at our website at stitchpleasepodcast.com. And we also ask that you check the show notes, where we have lots of additional information and supplemental information for what we discussed in the podcast. You can find affiliate links there for the products that we like. You can find web links to the Black women that we've been talking about here on the show to elevate and center their work. And you can also find the info we mentioned about donations, as well as our email link. All of that is available at stitchpleasepodcast.com. Thanks again for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you next time. Come back and we'll help you get your stitch together.